Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Same here. Let's get right into it. If you could kick us off with a one-word open, what would that one word be right now that you could tell me that how you're feeling exactly in this moment?
I would say alignment is the one word of the day for me.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, take the next few minutes, tell us who are you, what do you do, and who do you help?
Yeah, for sure. I'm Mark Flint, one of the co-founders and the CEO of The Escape Game. My co-founders, Jonathan and James Merle, and I founded The Escape Game about 8 years ago. We took off like a rocket ship, and we provide in real life experiences for guests, escape game experiences for guests. And we put guests on the clock and we immerse them in scenic sets, and they have an hour to figure out puzzles and tactile tasks to complete a mission, a story-driven mission. So we're all about serving guests. That's who we serve every day.
That's awesome. Can you take us back 8 years ago? How did you get like the idea, the aha moment for you to go, hey, you know what? This is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was October of 2013. I was on vacation with my family in London. I was in charge of the itinerary, and I heard of this thing called an escape game by looking at online reviews. You had to pay in advance, had no idea what it was, but my family and I had an amazing time together. We all loved it. And the unique thing about it was that, it wasn't just one of us that liked it. Every single person in our group, our family and the family that we were with, really loved the experience. And it was pretty immediate. We thought, wow, we could do this. The one we did was fairly basic, which was kind of normal for that time. We thought we could bring this to the US and do it a specific way, and it would really work. So we flew back home, and I met with Jonathan Merle over a hamburger. And then in 10 days, we had tickets to go to Hungary, which in Budapest was where a lot of the escape games at that time existed. Many of them that were in basements of bars. But we played, I think, 15 games in 4 days. We also ended up visiting Singapore later on to see kind of what was going on worldwide. And then we started designing games in the Flint family basement shortly thereafter.
That's so cool. So you guys are nationwide, or are you only certain states?
Yeah, we're nationwide. Our first location is in our hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. This is where our headquarters are. We've got our creative studio here in our warehouse. We manufacture all of our games and do all the creative in-house. And we have 25 retail locations across the US. Tomorrow, we're opening our 26th, and we'll open about 4 more this year, and we have 10 that we're going to be opening in 2023. So we're kind of in growth mode.
Congrats on the growth.
Yeah.
That's really awesome to see. And these are all owned by you, or they're like independent franchises, or?
No, these are all company owned. We don't do franchises. And so The Escape Game is our brand. Our mission at The Escape Game is to design and deliver epic interactive experiences for every single guest. And so that design part's really important to us. And so we have a team of about 35 creatives, including a game design team, and then, of course, our marketing team as well. And craftsmen, artists, painters, and we basically come up with the stories and the themes of the games and build them from scratch in our warehouse. And then, that's the design part. And then the deliver part is we believe that the experience that we give the guests, those personal interactions with our team and the guests, is just as important as the design. And so, yeah, these are company-owned stores. We don't franchise. And we're always trying to push the boundaries of what you can do in an escape game. Always coming up with new games and new concepts, working on a couple of good ones right now.
That's really cool. And before we come back over to the business side again, I just have one quick question for you as well. For what is the number one thing that you want people to take away when they're listening to this interview? Right? Like sometimes you listen to a podcast or you go to listen to a keynote and then you go out and you meet someone, you go, hey, I was at that breakout session or the keynote, or someone you talk to at, and you go, hey, I just listened to this cool podcast. This is what they talked about. So would love to hear what your intention is and what you want people to walk away with this on this interview. What do you want? What would that be?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I would say what the escape game does really well, what we've learned to do over time, and we weren't born with it for sure. We had to learn it. But that word that I talked about at the beginning, alignment, we have over 900 team members, and everyone is aligned and trying to do the same thing. So our team knows our mission. Like we don't just have a mission statement and 5 values because everyone else does. We really use that as a filter, and it allows us to be aligned. And yes, like we've developed a skill to create great content and great games. Everyone loves what they do, but the advantage of being aligned together and keeping the group focused on the same thing and swimming in the same direction, I think is one of those things that I think the listeners would love to implement as well. We've seen a lot of benefits from that over the years.
Awesome. I love hearing that. It gives us a clear indication of what your intention is and what you want people to walk away with after they get done listening to this. So, with that said, going back over the course of the last 8 years, can you tell us the good, bad, and ugly, just off the top of your head, high level? One of each.
Yeah. Okay. The good, I would say, um, our our experience has been, if we would describe it, is above and beyond all we could ask or imagine. And we're pretty much dreamers too. And so, but our timing was really good. We were like one of the first few in the United States to open. Going through the pandemic, uh, our backs were against the wall. All of our stores were closed, and our values kicked in, and our team really stepped up to the plate, and we thrived during the pandemic. And I think the good is we love serving guests. Like there's no joy like putting a smile on a family's face or a work group's face when everyone is hitting on all cylinders and we're hitting the center of the bullseye of our mission. And so it's so enjoyable. And then to see that the combination of enjoying what you do and then finding success, sometimes as a result of our hard work, but sometimes we believe we've had some help with that as well. And we're just grateful for the opportunity. And that's the good. The bad, when we first started really growing, we had to learn a lot of lessons. And so I think I mentioned alignment earlier. We had some times where not all the parts of our company were aligned. And it's interesting, the escape game, it's a retail experiential entertainment company. And we have that, but we're also a content creator. Sometimes we create content for other third parties on occasion. And of course, we create our own content. And then we're also a manufacturing company because we build all of our games from scratch and install them in our stores. And so with that complexity of the business and the ambition to grow really fast, we had a period where we weren't aligned. And we learned some valuable lessons during that time of how inefficient it is, if the different departments are all kind of swimming in different directions. The ugly, gosh, I would have to say, that first month of the pandemic was the ugliest that we've had to deal with. Our team, we select, our group is really passionate. We're competitive. Like I said earlier, we love serving guests, and to have all of our stores closed overnight was really tough for us, and we didn't know how we were going to get out. But we looked at the challenge through the lens of opportunity, and our team started with our digital offering. We started providing play from anywhere experiences where people could play the games through Zoom, and that kind of took off. And then our in real life business actually bounced back. But that first month, I would classify that as ugly.
You said something that's really cool to hear, lens of opportunity. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So give me some more insights into, if you have the lens of opportunity on and you see everything as opportunity, what kind of a shift did you see? What kind of a breakthrough did you make? I know you just mentioned one, but I'd love to hear over the course of the last 8 years, 900 employees, and all this success. What are some other lens of opportunity per se that you went into something with that kind of mindset and that kind of lens, and then you actually created it, right? Like one of my good friends says, make something up, then make it real, right? And that comes with the right framework and mindset and lens of opportunity, essentially. So I'd love to hear a couple examples from you on that.
Yeah, I would say, as you're asking that question, I'm thinking about my co-founders and our senior leadership team. And so James Merle is in charge of, he's our COO, in charge of our operations. And he's developed an internal leadership program where interesting fact is 25 out of 25 of our general managers in our stores started as game guides in our stores, and not, hey, we're going to make you be a game guide. The game guide is our entry level position. So we're not, not that we're going to make you be a game guide and pay your dues and then you can get to where what we hired you for. 24 out of those 25 actually started with that was their job. And so his passion for leadership development and the drive to create something, I think, and then my other co-founder, Johnny Merle, who works on the creative side as well. And he and I started designing the games at the beginning, but he's always looking for the next thing. And so I think that lens of opportunity is definitely helped in our context by the fact that we have a team with different strengths. And then I would say in the pandemic, our leadership team really stepped up to the plate in terms of, we really love what we do. We love serving guests. And we were faced with the reality that, wow, we might not be around. Like rent is due, we have no revenue. And we got together, we decided, hey, why can't this be a season where we really thrive? And it was hard to say those words at the time because it didn't make any sense. But sometimes you have to speak what's coming next before you start believing what's coming next, before you start seeing the results of what's coming next. And so we just challenged our team, challenged ourselves. What can we do? And so like within 2 weeks, we were making face shields for healthcare workers. And we got a few contracts to do that. And that helped us make ends meet. Our manufacturing team had the idea, well, why don't we go build cabinets in residential homes? We have those skills. And so they took on jobs to make ends meet. And then, of course, the big idea was the digital offerings, which really started to bring in a ton of revenue. But it was, being grounded in our values. And one of our values is growth. We believe in expanding our business and developing our team members. And that value demands that you're looking forward. And so looking forward forces you to look at, to kind of ignore either the present circumstances or the past, and look at the future through the lens of opportunity.
Beautiful. And we're going to talk about accelerating growth in a minute. But before we get into that, you're a driven person, Mark, and I would love to hear, about your why. What is your why?
Yeah, my personal why. I think, people always characterize me as an entrepreneur and a risk taker. I think those kind of go hand in hand, and everybody's perception of an entrepreneur is a risk taker. I think one thing that helps me is my life is not really built around my work. And so my faith and my family are really, really important to me. And knowing that whatever success or failure I have in business, those are the things that I wake up for. And so the advantage that gives me in business is it frees me up to take risks and be a little bit more aggressive than my nature is. My nature is very analytical. Like I love going and taking the jump, but I want to understand and quantify all the risks ahead of time. And I would say the why for me is, again, my faith, my family, and sometimes people try to separate that from business. For me, it gives me it feels like a leg up because when I've got an opportunity and I believe it's the right thing to do, my whole life isn't in the balance. It's just whether this business idea is going to work or not. So,
Yeah, that's really awesome, Mark. Thanks for sharing that with us. So let's talk about accelerating growth. So what are the top three um, things that have happened in your organization? Or let's just say you had like three major accelerations of growth. What were those, and what would you say, in your opinion, was the direct, contribution to those three? Because over 8 years, I'm sure you've had some significant growth as you're experiencing now. You have been, but I just want to hear like the top three. Here are the top three, and then here are the reasons why I had these results.
yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so I would say our initial, uh, like right when we opened, was an explosive moment. Like we uh, we started on the concept, I guess, in November of 2013. We opened our doors the end of April 2014, and we spent, I don't know, $70,000 putting together our first games to open and get the off the ground. Now we spend, you know well into the seven figures on stores and our build outs, and they're really, kind of Disney level sets. But at that time, that's how much we spent. And we quickly became one of the number one things to do in Nashville. And, in the third month, our revenues were like $200,000. And so it was an immediate success. And so that was like just shot out of a rocket ship growth, which we were so grateful to have. But I think we also were faced with an opportunity at that time. What do you do with this?
Mm.
And so the reaction, the normal reaction is, all right, let's pocket some of this cash. Let's go out quickly and try to replicate it. And we had the discipline to think long term. And so, again, our mission really drives that. It's every single guest. We talk about quality, epic interactive experiences. And so we really wanted to be the premium provider of this concept, and we wanted it to last for years. And so it was tough early on because there were some companies that just kind of threw up stores and they weren't that great and weren't great experiences, but we did grow really fast, but we were very disciplined in that growth. I think the second phase of growth was when we tried to do, we had I guess in the first 4 years, we got to 8 stores.
Mm.
And we tried to do about 8 stores in 1 year in 2019. And so that growth happened, but there was a cost. And that was that time I was mentioning earlier where we had some misalignment and a lot of pressure and learned a lot of valuable lessons. And the takeaway from that one was, hey, really think about how fast you want to grow and count the cost before you endeavor to do big things. And those lessons that we learned back then are paying off now. And then the third time of growth, I would say, is post-pandemic. The demand for quality in real life experiences has just been phenomenal. And you think, oh, it makes sense. Everybody's kind of at their house and they want those experiences, but what we're seeing is there's a general shortage of non-screen experiences in the world today, and that's exactly what we're trying to provide, where you can see the look on the people you love faces when they do something amazing in a game and solve a puzzle or figure something out. And so seeing that post-pandemic demand has really given us the confidence to really grow fast. And we're in the middle of it right now with 15 stores in about 18 months that we're putting up right now.
Awesome. And my last question is around SOPs. So would you say, obviously you probably have SOPs, and if so, how much of SOPs are directly correlated to your success, in your opinion?
What's the SOP mean? I'm
Standard
sorry.
operating procedures. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so for your team to know, hey, this is how we launch a store. This is how we operate. Opening and closing, all that stuff. Like whatever everyone has unique SOPs. So
Right.
I'm sure. So how, tell us about if you have SOPs, and if so, what's the correlation to your acceleration of growth because of SOPs, if any?
Yeah, we do have standard operating procedures, and they're very, very precise and very, very important as we try to grow. And so I think a great example of that is how do we operate our stores? What comes along with the fact that we develop leaders in-house is we're not hiring MBAs or experienced people because our culture is so important. We want to grow our leaders in-house. And so a lot of times they don't have the built-in experience or education that goes along with managing a store. And so, we help them and train them in those. And then we have very precise operating procedures for this is how you hire, this is how you select, this is how you set up your schedule. And it's not that just anyone can do it. It does take someone who's got, some smarts and whatnot. But the key ingredient is, do they have our culture? Do they have our mission? And do they have a love for guests? Like, are they really willing to serve guests? Is that why they're there? And obviously everybody has, their job is for them as well. As employees, we all should get something out of working as well. But the guests, if the guests are important to them and they've got our culture, we found that we can train leadership and procedures. And these young leaders, they'll surprise you. They're creative enough that they'll come up with a new way of doing things, and then we can transport that to all the other stores. And so I think that's, and then obviously doing, 10 stores in a year. To have the planning and the manufacturing processes, you can manhandle one or two stores, and we did that early on. But those operating procedures are really everything once you want to scale.
Got it. Great. Give us your website address in case people want to find out more information. How could they find you on the web?
Yeah, of course. We're at theescapegame.com. So you can kind of see all of our locations there, all of our products. If we're not in someone's city, they can play, virtually. Hopefully, we're coming to everyone's city soon.
Nice.
And a lot of people like to play games when they travel too. So we're in most of the larger metropolitan areas right now, and expanding rapidly. So we would love to serve guests and then introduce them to the escape game if they haven't been already.
Awesome. If you could close us out with a one-word close, tell us what that is, and then also tell us why you're choosing to sign off with this, so to speak. I know you said alignment is what we started with. I can't wait to hear what you're going to sign us off with.
Yeah, I would say serving. I think I mentioned that a few times as we've been talking, and it's funny. It's not easy to do, but it isn't overly complex. But if you have the mind to serve, and I think that is a top-down thing. Like if I view my role as CEO as a server and an empowerer to my team, and that trickles down all the way. And we can. That's the competitive advantage that I believe we can have. The funny thing is, there's no barrier to entry. Someone just needs to decide, I'm going to serve people well. I'm going to serve guests well. And if they've got the motivation to do it, they can do it. There's nothing stopping them. No one has a monopoly on that. It's not patented. But it's amazing the results. Our marketing team's amazing, but word of mouth, when our guests have an experience that is meaningful to them, it's so valuable. And our team members love actually participating in that process because they're making a difference. It's not just a game, it's a little bit more than that. So that's the parting word.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Tony. Take care.